Hag Sameach, everybody. We're getting closer and closer to Shabuot Night. Be'ezrat Hashem. For the last 50 days, we've been counting day after day from Pesach, counting our way up, just like Bnei Israel in the desert. We're counting their way to get the Torah. We're getting there. We're going to get it. And we're going to read in the morning about the Aseret HaDibrot, that Hashem on Har Sinai tells us the 10 Commandments. Moshe Rabbeinu goes up, gets the Luchot, and brings down the tablets. So I want to speak today a little bit about the Luchot. What do the Luchot symbolize? And based on that understanding, get a much deeper idea of what Shavuot is all about. So this is an idea that I heard a bunch of years ago from a shiur from Rabbi Zwar, Rosh Yeshiva of Miami Beach. Deep stuff. Since then, I found a lot more on this topic, but I want to go start with the basics a little bit. What is Shavuot all about? Okay, so Bnei Israel leave Mitzrayim, they get to Har Sinai, they get the Aseret HaDibrot, they get the 10 Commandments. Moshe Rabbeinu comes down with two tablets, and he comes down on the 17th of Tammuz, and as he comes down, there's the terrible, terrible, terrible sin, the Egel HaZahab. The Jewish people were sinning with idolatry, dancing and singing and partying around the golden calf. Idolatry. Moshe Rabbeinu sees this, and what does he do? He takes the Luchot, and he throws them, smashes them on the ground, breaks them in front of all of the Jewish people. So here's the question. Why? Why does Moshe break the Luchot? What does that mean? What do the Luchot symbolize, and why is it so important that Moshe breaks it right now? And then Chazal tell us that Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Yasher kochach, Yasher koach, Chazako Baruch, good job that you broke the Luchot. It was like a good thing. So why did Moshe break it? What was that all about? By Moshe breaking the Luchot, does that mean that, okay, now we're patur from the 10 Commandments? Meaning the Luchot, the 10 Commandments are on these two tablets. Moshe breaks the tablets when he sees us sinning. So now that he breaks it, so now what are we, patur from the Torah and the mitzvahs? Like, I don't get it. Does the Luchot symbolize the Torah and now we don't have to keep the Torah? Of course not. Because in Har Sinai, Hashem spoke to us the Aseret HaDibrot. This is just the Luchot that kind of like represent our siman of what Hashem said. But while Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai, Hashem taught him more Torah. He taught him more mitzvot, and based on different Rishonim, well, what did Moshe actually learn on Har Sinai for those 40 days? But according to many opinions, he learned the whole Torah up there. So Moshe Rabbeinu had the whole Torah with 613 laws. These are just 10 laws or 10 categories of laws. But the Torah is so much more. And it's just a symbol of the law. So if he breaks them, does that mean we're patur? Of course not. We're still chayab. What, now he breaks the luchot and we're not obligated? We didn't sin anymore? No, there still is a sin. There still is a tshuva process that has to take place over here. So what does he break the luchot for? It doesn't help us. Like, is it just a display of Moshe's displeasure that he's just angry at us and he's just breaking because he has kaas? Like, what's it all about? There has to be something a little bit deeper. Then Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to goes back on the mountain. He goes and he prays. He does tshuva for the Jewish people. He prays and he prays and he prays. And then he comes down with a second set of Luchot, a second tablets on Yom Kippur. So it seems to be that the Luchot are like a really big deal, because if they weren't such a big deal, why would he go up and bring down a second amount? So why are the Luchot so important? Also, if you think about it, when do you actually see the Luchot are in the Aron Kodesh, in the Holy of Holies. The Kohen Gadol only goes in there one day a year. I mean, even when he's in there, he doesn't see what's inside the boxes. There's like 3 boxes sealed with the kaporet on top. He can't even see the Luchot. So what do they symbolize? What are they all about? So Hazal and the Midrash actually explain to us what is so special, what is the symbol of the Luchot. So if you go back to Parashat Chayei Sarah, there's the famous story of Abraham is looking for a wife for his son Yitzchak. So he sends Eliezer off to Haran. Eliezer, his servant, goes to Haran to find a wife for Yitzchak. And he's looking for a wife that symbolizes chesed. And he does this whole test with camels and water and this whole thing. And this woman, Rivka, this young lady, Rivka, comes by and passes the test completely. This is a woman of chesed, taking care of everything. And Eliezer realizes that, oh my God, Hashem answered my prayers. Hashem answered the prayers of Abraham. I found the wife for Yitzchak. And then if you open up to the Pasuk, this is Perek Kaf Daled, Pasuk Kaf Bet, back in Bereshit, Parashat Chayei Sarah. So it says, after the camels finished drinking, Vayikacha ish, this ish, which Moshe Chazal says Eliezer, he takes a nezem zahav, beka mishkalo, ushnei tzimidim al yadeya, asara zahav mishkala. He goes and he gives gifts to Rivka. He gives her a nose ring, and then he gives her 2 bangles that were worth 10 gold pieces, and that's a special present he's going to give to Rivka as a wedding present to marry Yitzchak. So comes along Rashi, and Rashi, quoting Chazal, says, okay, what is this whole 2 bangles worth 10 gold? What does that mean? What kind of hint is that? So he says, Rashi, based on the Midrash, the 2 bangles are a remez, they're a hint to the 2 luchot, and they're worth 10 gold. That's a hint to the Aseret Adibot, the 10 Commandments. So we have ourselves 2 bracelets, 2 bangles, worth 10 gold, 2 luchot. What were the bangles for? They were a wedding present. When Eliezer realizes that Rivka is the perfect wife for Yitzchak, this is going to be, what some say maybe the Kesef Kedushin, this is going to be the marriage present to Rivka for Yitzchak. So based on this understanding, what's Rashi telling us? Rashi's telling us that the Luchot are the wedding present that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to us. And says Rabbi Zweig, the hint, the secret, the depth of Shavuot and Shabuot Night is that we're actually getting married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak. There's a ceremony happening between us and God. And the ceremony that we're doing when we learn on Shavuot Night is reenacting the wedding that actually took place at Har Sinai. You know, we have the minhag to stay up the whole night and learn Torah the whole night. So one of the reasons why they bring down that we stay up the whole night is because Hashem was waiting for us at Har Sinai to show up, and kind of like, oh, we overslept. Like, God is waiting for us to show up. Like, what's going on over here? Why are you guys so late? You guys got to. So we want to do a tikkun nowadays. So our tikkun, the tikkun leil Shavuot, is we're going to learn all night and say to Hashem, you know what? Maybe that first generation overslept. We're not going to oversleep. We're so excited for that Torah reading of the 10 Commandments. We are so excited to get the Torah. We're going to stay up the whole night. So that's like the standard reason why we stay up all night and learn. But Rashi gives a very different interpretation. Why was Hashem waiting for us over there? Meaning, shouldn't we be waiting for Hashem? Shouldn't we show that we're excited? What is Hashem doing waiting for us at Har Sinai? Like, what's going on over here? So if you go over to the Parshat Yitro Perek Yutet over there, so Rashi explains that Hashem was waiting for us, Kechatani yotzeh likrat kala, like a groom going out to greet his bride. Meaning Hashem, so to speak, is the husband, and we are the wives that married HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are the wife that married Hashem at Har Sinai. So just like at a wedding, especially at a Sephardic wedding, the Hatan goes out, the groom goes out and brings the wife into their new home, the chuppah symbolizing their first home. So too HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going out and bringing us to the home. So Hashem's going to get there first, because that's the way it works. The husband's always waiting for the wife. He always has to get there first. Meaning, where are you, wife? Where are you, wife? But that's how it works. Because in that first wedding ceremony, Hashem goes out and brings the wife in, brings us in to marry HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that also works very well with the Midrash that says that Hashem held the mountain of Har Sinai over our heads. Well, what's the mountain doing over our heads? The mountain is the chuppah. So Har Sinai is the chuppah over our head. The luchot is the wedding ring, basically, that Hashem is giving us under the chuppah. So in the story of Eliezer, it's bangles, and it's interesting because in the Syrian minhag, a lot of the family will buy the kala, golden bangles, before her wedding. It's a big minhag. Maybe it goes all the way back to here as one of the wedding presents. But the luchot symbolize this wedding present to the Jewish people from Hashem. Okay, so if that's what they're all about, why does Moshe break them? So explains Rabbi Zweig a beautiful idea. Hashem is Melech HaOlam. Hashem is king over the world. Whether the luchot get broken or not, we still have a Torah, we still have laws, and just like a king with his servants, we are always servants of Hashem, we are Avdei Hashem. Breaking the luchot is not going to break this idea that we have to serve God and keep the mitzvot. We are Hashem's servants, we are the Avadim. But this special relationship of marriage to Hashem, that we're Hashem's special nation, that we're going to become one with Hashem. We know that Ahava is the same gematria of Echad. There's this oneness, there's this intimacy that we're going to have with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, being Hashem's special nation through the Torah, symbolizing our mission and our purpose in life, and it gives meaning to what this marriage is all about. So the luchot is the luchot symbolize, demonstrate this deep connection with Hashem. But if we're messing up, if we're sitting with the golden calf, that's really bad. And Rabbi Zweig has a beautiful idea. If you look at the actual 10 Commandments themselves, so Chazal tell us you could read the 10 Commandments across. Like, meaning you have 5 and 5. We know one tablet had 5, the second tablet had the other 5. One tablet, the first one has been Adam Makom, between us and God. The other one has been Adam Lachavro, between man and man. But he says you can actually read them across. So meaning read across 1, 6, 2, 7. So he says, say Chazal, for example, says the Midrash, that the first commandment is I'm the Lord your God. And if you read it going right across to the second tablet, the 6th commandment is don't murder. Why can't you murder? Because we know that we're all created in the image of Hashem. So if I'm the Lord your God, if Hashem is saying I am Hashem, you can't murder somebody else because everybody else has a Tselem Elohim in them. There's a piece of God in them. There's this image of Hashem over there. So to murder somebody else is like, so to speak, kind of like murdering, so to speak, Hashem. There's even this famous midrash that says that if somebody's punishment is they have to be hung, you have to make sure you bury the body right away, right when the sun sets. Meaning they only up there for like a minute, for like just for the judgment to exist, and then you take them down right away, because they say that man is like a twin of God, and if you have them hanging up there, it's like an embarrassment to God. That's how far the Gemara takes it. That like we're so much in the image of Hashem that you can't murder somebody else because we're too much like Hashem. Okay, that's 1 to 6. If you look at 2, what is 2? 2 is you should have no other gods. You can't do idolatry. And if you read it across to number 7, what is number 7? You can't do adultery. So what's the connection? So idolatry is, so to speak, adultery against Hashem. To worship an idol would be to be cheating on Hashem. And if you look at the parsha of the Sotah, we're going to read that next week in Parshat Naso. It's always the parsha after Shavuot. There was also Naso, Nisu'in, the wedding, the marriage. But if you look at the parsha of the Sotah, so the Sotah is the wife where the husband suspects maybe she's cheating on him. So the language over there of he has to warn her and he has to do this whole process over there. The language there is vikineh, which is a language of jealousy. The only other time we find jealousy in the Torah, when it comes to mitzvot, is when it comes to idolatry. When it says you can't do idolatry, why? Because Hashem is kel kana. Hashem is a God who gets jealous. So we have 2 places where there's jealousy. We have it by adultery and we have it by idolatry. And the connection is that idolatry is, so to speak, cheating on Hashem as adultery with Hashem. So breaking the luchot is breaking that marriage relationship to Hashem, and the reason we're doing that is because if we're married to Hashem, idolatry is not only idolatry, it's also adultery against Hashem. But the second way the luchot are broken, the marriage is broken, and if the marriage is broken, now it only goes back to idolatry, which is still a very terrible, terrible sin, and there's going to be major punishment for this sin. But idolatry already is one level lower because you don't have that intimate relationship as well. The king has to take care of his servants. And if a servant rebels against the king, that's really bad. But if a family member rebels against the king, if a wife, a spouse would rebel against the king, that already is considered to be a different level, much, much worse. So let's break that intimate relationship. That's what the luchot breaking was all about. But that also explains why Moshe is going to go up a second time, because we want to reestablish that relationship to Hashem. We really want to be married to Hashem. And this also explains another, perplexing Gemara. There's a Gemara in Ta'anit Kaf Vav that says that the 2 happiest days in the year were Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, and Yom Kippur. Why? Because those 2 days are the days when they would make shidduchim. They would marry off the women to the young women to the young men. It was a day of shidduchim. So Tu B'Av became a love day here in Israel. And they already started doing all these different ceremonies over here for people who need zivugs, for shidduchim. But Yom Kippur, how in the world does Yom Kippur, what does it have to do with marriage and shidduchim? But now it makes sense, because Yom Kippur is the day that we received the second luchot. It's the day when through the tshuva process, we were able to get back to that level of unity and oneness with Hashem, to get back to that marriage with Hashem. There's actually one of the commentators, the Rokeach, writes that between Shavuot and Yom Kippur, there's actually 120 days corresponding to the 120 words in the Sheva Brachot. So we just see this marriage relationship being reestablished on Yom Kippur night itself. And that also, if we go back to 17th of Tammuz, so we said that the luchot were broken on 17th of Tammuz, but we know that that's a fast day nowadays. That's one of the reasons. Another reason why we fast was because an idol was put into the temple hundreds of years later. So we see this connection of idolatry on the 17th of Tammuz day with the luchot. So these is just deeper connection throughout history of what this day of that sad day is all about. But now we're coming up to Shavuot. This is going to be the happy day. This is going to be the day where we're going to have unity with Hashem. We're going to have achdut with Hashem. We're going to get to the deeper levels of our relationship with Hashem. It's also the day we're going to get the Torah. And why is the Torah? Why is this wedding present the Torah? Because this is, like we mentioned earlier, is going to be our purpose in life. We're not just getting married to Hashem just because we want to be close to God. Why do we want to be close to God? What's our mission? Because we have something much greater. Our relationship is going to be built on doing big things. Before Chava was created, Adam is first told the first commandments. According to Chazal, even the 7 Noach laws came to Adam HaRishon before Chava was created. Because before we have a unity in a relationship, we have to know why we're here, what we're all about, what's our purpose. So the Torah is going to give us purpose, so we can have this unity mean something for the world. And actually, there's another idea. Maybe for next year's Dvar Torah, we can talk about a different marriage that takes place on Shavuot. There's actually a marriage to the Torah. So when it comes to Hashem, we are the wife, Hashem is the husband, and we're entering into Hashem's world. But there's another idea in Chazal that we actually marry the Torah on Shavuot as well, where the Torah is going to be our kala, our wife, and we're going to be the husband bringing the Torah into our domain. And there's actually this double marriage taking place at the exact same time. Us to Hashem and us to the Torah, and that's kind of the concept that Hashem and the Torah and the Jewish people are all one, and what that means in the Zohar becomes this big marriage ceremony. So really, I just want to close by saying Mazal Tov to you guys, Mazal Tov to all of us, and we should have an awesome wedding night with Hashem. Chag Sameach.